right, so here we go. Right, so 10 coping strategies to try, right? The website, these PowerPoints, once my website is up and running, these PowerPoints will be available to you as well if you want to download them. I'm making some modifications right now to the website. But if in the meantime you do want these slides, just shoot me an email, send me a message, and then I'll make sure to get back to you via either my Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform you saw the ad for this event in. And I'll get that to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, in about 2 weeks, the website will be live, and I'll talk a little bit more at the end of the presentation about why that is, and then you'll be able to download the presentations then. All right, so the agenda for today is we're going to go over some, like I said before, operational definitions. So just so we're all on the same page about terms and definitions. And then we're going to talk about 10 coping strategies. And so the way I've done this with the 10 coping strategies, it's not that they're individual strategies, like just a list of 10. It's 5 coping strategies with 2 variations. By that I mean, there could be 1 coping strategy and I'll have an indoor activity and an outdoor activity. So this is meant to account for whatever stage your state is in regarding the COVID situation. So if you're still under stay-at-home orders, the indoor options could be phenomenal for you. But if your state is already beginning to reopen, or maybe you have a yard, right, that allows you more flexibility and movement, then perhaps you could try the outdoor activities. But I encourage you to try both if you can. If you're under stay-at-home orders, you can do this right outside your home. If your state is reopening, I encourage you to still try the indoor options. I think they'll be good for you. And then we'll talk about what's coming up this month. So as I said before, these are going to be bi-weekly sessions. And what's going to happen is I'm going to tell you what's going to come up, not next week, but the week after when we have the next session. And I have a visual for that for my visual learners. And then we're going to have a Q&A. So please remember to type any questions that you may have about today's topic in the Zoom chat box. And then as soon as the presentation is over, I'm going to go right back to that and have a look at what you came up with. All right, so here we begin. So definitions, the 2 terms I chose to focus on are stress and coping strategies. Now, these are definitions that are going to come from a psychology perspective, being that I'm a counselor, right? So there's definitely many ways to define stress depending on your field, but I'm going to be talking about them specifically with regards to therapy, right? So stress refers to your psychological perception. So basically how you see the pressures around you, the pressures of your stressors, and your body's response to it. So that's just a fancy way of saying a situation is as stressful as you believe it to be, as you understand it to be. It could be genuinely stressful, but the degree at which you understand that stress varies from person to person. So this is how you find that sometimes some people are stressed out by a situation and others are not. So then you might have a situation that doesn't stress you out quite so much, but you're confused as to why somebody else is freaking out about whatever it is that's going on. Again, stress is that perception, the way you view pressure, right? And then your physiological responses, your body's responses, like increased heart rate, sweating, anxiety, restlessness, you can't sleep, things like that. So the way stress manifests for you. So it's a thought, and then the way it looks like physiologically, right? So coping strategies are meant to target these thought processes and these reactions, these physical reactions. Right? So coping strategies are active. So it's either an active thought, meaning you're conscientiously thinking about it, or it's an action, meaning you're actually doing something about it. Right? So these are used to either meet the stressful event head on, or maybe just decide you're going to look at the situation a little bit differently. And that usually happens when you feel like you maybe don't have as much control over a situation as you'd like to have. That's when you usually try to reframe your ideas and your thoughts about what's actually happening to you, right? So in other words, coping strategies, the underlying thought here, in other words, is coping strategies involve a conscious, direct approach to problems. So basically the coping strategies I'm giving you are meant to directly tackle stress, right? And just to add to that little bit of education, there's 2 categories of coping that I like to work with, mainly from Lazarus and Folkman. I think they do a really good job at dealing with adjustment issues in terms of disability or just, activities of daily living, whatever's going on in your day-to-day life, right? Quality of life. So there are two primary categories, and by no means is this list exhaustive. It's just how I conceptualize stress, and hopefully it gives you some rough idea of where you might fall in terms of this framework. So it's not the only model, but this is the model that I'll be using for today's presentation, right? So the first coping type, you can try to see if you can find yourself in one of these, right? So the first coping style is the problem-focused style. So these are your people who need to zero in on the problem. They need to just understand, tell me what the problem is, and I'll come up with an alternative way to deal with it, right? So not much emotion really playing in there. It doesn't mean the person has no emotion. It just means when alarm kicks in or when that threat system, physiological system kicks in, they tend to go right into thinking mode, right? What is the problem? What are my possible solutions? What are the costs and benefits of each solution? And then I'm going to choose the best one to address this problem or this stressor. So those are your problem coping styles. So those ones may seem a little bit nonchalant, a bit aloof in terms of emotional connectivity in a way, but it's not that they're not emotionally involved in the situation. They just rather go to the solution straight away. Identify the problem. What are the solutions? What are they going to cost me? And how am I going to execute? But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the emotion-focused coping, right? So these are more people who try to reduce the negative feelings associated with stress before they can even begin to think about how to address the problem. Half the battle is managing the emotions coming with the stressor. So when you have those huge feelings of anxiety, panic, when you feel choked up, like you don't know how to articulate anything anymore, you don't know what to say anymore. These are your emotion-focused people. You have that strong physiological response. Now, that's not the weaker of the two. Thinking it through is not weaker than having an emotional response. Sometimes your emotions are just trying to tell you this is serious. And depending on the level of emotion you have, it can kind of help you figure out what you're going to need to implement, what level of interventions, right, coping skills and strategies you're going to have to implement to deal with the issue, right? So, but the first point is managing those tough emotions that come with it, right? So by the emotion-focused people tend to try to have a reappraisal of the stressor. So after they calm themselves down, the journey to calming themselves down is by reframing the problem. So it doesn't change the stress level of the problem. It just changes the way you perceive the problem, right? So you don't have necessarily a list of solutions. You've just decided to look at it differently, and that calms you down in the process. And because you're a lot calmer, now you can implement an intervention. You can actually take an action to address your stressor, right? So the truth is, most of us are usually a little bit of both of these, right? And different stresses can conjure different responses. So some stressors, maybe you've dealt with them a long time, you've developed some sense of control over your environment. You might switch straight to problem-focused coping. Like, well, I've seen this before, I know what to do, right? That's problem-focused. That's your problem-focused mechanism kicking in. But then you might have something that completely takes you by surprise, or you have barely any control over it, like losing a job. You may not be able to control that, right? But you can control the negative emotions that come with it, and then try to reframe what's going on. Like, okay, so I've lost my job, I'm panicking, I cannot calm down. Okay, let me see, maybe I can still get my last check, my severance pay, I need to get this going, so that's when those action steps starts kicking. You're like, I'm gonna try a new job. Or it might be someone going, you know what, I think it was about time that I was gonna try for a new job anyway. Right? So that's something that emotion focus might sound like. I was going to try a new job anyway. Maybe it was about time I try something different. Right? So we tend to exist on a spectrum of both, with problem focus implying some amount of control over the situation, and emotion focused implying some perception, your understanding that maybe you feel a little bit powerless to the problem, but it still needs to be addressed. All right, so with those key definitions in place, if you have any questions about these, again, remember this is the chat box, use it. But we're going to jump right into some of the coping strategies. So hopefully you find where you kind of lean in terms of these two primary categories. And like I said before, they're not exhaustive. There's definitely an expansive list. There's more we could go into, but I think it's sufficient for what we're doing now. All right, so 10 coping strategies. Like I promised you, there's 5 indoor activities, 5 outdoor activities, and they relate to each other. So you can try either or do them interchangeably or combine some of these concepts. But there will be 5 and 5 of similar concepts, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So to start, we're gonna go with coping strategy number 1, light, right? Let's talk about light, right? So indoor activities, sometimes it helps to see just natural light of a sort, right? If you're cooked up inside and it's overcast and rainy all the time, whatever it is that's going on in your life, your blinds are down, your curtains or your windows don't face east when the sun is rising, they're always west, so it's always when it's setting. But just playing around with light can help ease some of that, the physiological responses you're having to stress. So for instance, lighting some scented candles. So you have the benefit of that flickering light and the nice aromatic scent that comes from the scented candles. Get fragrances you like. But be careful if you have kids or pets around, because you're talking about an open flame, right? So maybe you could, an alternative could be playing around with diffusers or playing around with plugins. So maybe you may not have the benefit of the light per se, but at least you get that aromatic sense as well that comes with it. But if you can get the light, get the light. And if you have a fireplace in your house and it's a chilly day, light a fire, right? Because the fire, like it's alive, right? Like so it's a living thing. So just to see something else, right? To get your focus off of your stress. There's something mesmerizing about fire. Something mesmerizing about light. So taking advantage of that. Or you can have an open pit outside if your house is an open pit and make some s'mores outside with your kids, you know? And then you can have a nice treat and that experience of light. And then outdoor activities, get some sun, get some sunshine, right? If you have a yard, spend some time in your yard. If you live in an apartment complex, with stay-at-home orders, you might be able to still kind of move around your apartment building in proximity to your apartment building. Just make sure you have a mask on if that's what the regulations are. So just make sure you're following those health and safety steps that are being implemented in your steps, in your states. But you can go out, get some sun, get some vitamin D, right? It will lift your spirits. Or open your windows. Open your windows, let some light in. You know, after being cooped up for 2 months, sometimes little things like that you might start to overlook because you're kind of like breathing in the same air every day, right? But conscientiously, remember, coping strategies require a conscientious thought or a conscientious action. Opening your windows, let some light in, right? Sunshine comes through your windows and your doorways. So open your windows, open your doors as you're comfortable, right? And then go for a walk if you can, as far as you're permitted to go based on your state. Go for a walk if you can. If your state is reopening, you can go for a walk or drive to a favorite location if that's open, like a nature reserve or the beach, and take your face mask with you if that's the stage of opening you are. Right? So just follow your state's rules in terms of what you're doing, but try to play around with light. See what you can do with light. And the nice thing about indoor playing with candles, you can even do shadow puppets with your kids, right? So now you have a fun activity you're doing, but you also have this interactive thing. So the next thing we'll look at is water. Take a shower. You may be home all the time, but you'll be surprised what taking a shower will do for you. Right? Just remember, take a shower, stay fresh and clean, even though you may not be going somewhere. Just that washing off. It's summer now here in the United States, at least. If you're sweating, it's great to take a shower, get that feeling of feeling refreshed. And I know not all houses have tubs, so consider taking showers, not just in the morning when you're starting off your day. It's a nice transition from sleep to waking up, but it's also nice in the evening, right before you go to bed, so to sort of just wash the day off of you. And the wonderful thing about evening showers is you don't have a schedule you're thinking about later. The next activity you're doing is sleep, right? So you're going from one relaxing activity into another relaxing activity, which is what makes evening showers so different from morning showers. So morning showers can get you alert, refreshed, ready for the day, but odds are you're probably thinking about all the things you need to get done that day. So adding on an evening shower later in the evening might help you with that. But if you have a glorious tub, I encourage you to take a relaxing bubble bath, or use the bath bombs, right? Like, take a relaxing bubble bath, essential oils, bath salts, whatever your preference is, and you'll have that nice interaction with water. So you're staying clean, washing off all that sweat, and in a way, sometimes it's just having a different sensation on your skin, feeling like the soap wash away, might also feel like your stresses are washing away with it and going down the drain. So try to visualize that. And then an outdoor activity could be going for a swim. If you have a pool in your yard, whether it's in ground, above ground, an inflatable pool, or if you don't have a pool, do you have a sprinkler? Those are budget friendly. Get a sprinkler and get a hose and a sprinkler and just run through it. Play with the kids, make a game of it, or tag. If you have kids, you can play tag with buckets of water. You don't need water guns. You can do buckets of water or water balloons. So budget-friendly activities that just kind of help you interact with water, because water is safe. If you're swimming, obviously make sure you can swim. You're doing that responsibly. But in terms of just like playing with the sprinklers or water balloons or anything like that, that could just give you an opportunity to take your mind off of your stressors for the day. Right? But then after that, you can take a relaxing shower, and then you've transitioned out. You've focused on something else for that day with these outdoor activities. So both options can be a lot of fun. You can try both, either or. If you have a yard, you can actually do both. If you have one or the other, do the one that you can. But what could actually add to the aesthetics of it, to the funness of it, is music. Consider playing some background music for both scenarios. Whether you're in the shower taking a tub, put in relaxing music or music that makes you happy, whatever that means. Whatever music makes you happy. It could be classical, it could be pop, it could be upbeat, whatever it is that puts you in a positive mental state. That's what you're going to want to do. Or you can play your music on your stereo Bluetooth speakers outside while you're having these water balloon fights, right? Like as if you're featuring in your own movie. Right? So now you have background tracks to play with your own movie. And music has this powerful ability to set the tone of your mood. So when you're stressed out, you may not want to listen to that melancholy, really depressing, sad music. Even though I know they're saying everything you wish you could say, it might be helpful to listen to something that shifts your mindset. Because remember, stress is perception. It's how you understand it, right? So you need something that shifts your thinking from the stressor to more positive thinking. So this, again, would be great for you emotion-focused people in trying to regulate that hyper reaction, your physiological reaction, right? So you can actually clear your mind long enough to think, right? So music can be great for that. The third category is feet don't fail me now. I like to call this one feet don't fail me now. If you're on your feet a lot, and I know some of you are essential workers, right? Or just moms, right? If you're on your feet a lot, take care of them, right? If you don't have a foot bath, get a bucket or a dish that you don't mind putting your feet in. Get some hot water, just a little bit above your comfortable level, so you can, since you don't have jets in it, unless your foot bath has jets in it, just assuming it's a regular bucket or a dish, just make sure your water is just above your comfort level for warm, so you can enjoy that soak a little bit longer, right? And in your water, you can add some essential oils, again, for that aromatic experience that can help you relax, or Epsom salts, or whatever it is that feels good to you, right? If you don't have essential oils, even baby oil works really well, right? Just because that steam from the hot water kind of helps diffuse that scent, right? And then make sure you keep a comfy towel near you to dab your feet. If you have carpet, just put a towel under your basin and then have a towel you're going to wipe your feet with, so you're not stressing out about drenching your carpet, right? So then if you're into it, give yourself a mani-pedi after a nice foot soak, right? Grab that nail polish and just do your own nails. Again, it's not the perfection of your technique in giving yourself a mani-pedi. It's the fact that your mind is removed from the stressor and entirely focused on a different task, which allows those physiological reactions to sort of calm down. And then when they calm down, you might actually have now room enough to start thinking about solutions to your issue. But not only that, you would have accomplished something. So by just finishing painting all 10 of your 10 nails, you've already won, right? So at least you have some control over something. And then when you start to deal with issues you may feel like you don't have control over, you can at least start thinking about it with a much more clear head. So the goal of this indoor activity is to get off your feet, especially if you're on them often. Now for my outdoor activities, this one is to get on your feet. So if you've been cooped up indoors, you probably are now sick and tired of the feeling of carpet, wood floors, and tiles, right? It might be beneficial to walk barefoot in the grass, in the sand, just so your feet can feel something different, that just different texture underneath your feet, right? So, and then spending time just thinking about what that feeling of the texture you have under your feet. If grass is not your thing, then don't do grass, find something else. But you can do sand if it's your favorite beach and the beaches are open. Go to the beach and take a walk in the sand, bury your feet in the sand. Just be present in that moment and tell yourself what it is that you're feeling in that moment, right? And if you can go to the beach, sand pits work, right? So you can still build sand castles. If you've got kids, you can still build sand castles in a sand pit. So just making sure your feet get to feel something different. That transition from what it's been like indoors to outdoors. So taking advantage of nature, because nature is generally free, and just experiencing something new, getting your nerve endings to experience some different kinds of stimulation. Right? So this could really help you refocus. Both of these techniques could help you refocus away from anxious thoughts or sad feelings, right? When you're paying attention to the new sensations. Now, I would caution you that if you're the water option, having especially the foot bath, if you're anxious about spilling water on your carpet, again, make sure your water levels are decent enough to kind of keep that anxiety low. But if that doesn't work for you, then I recommend that outdoor activity. If you're in an apartment complex, just go to the patch of grass in front of your apartment building, take a walk in it, notice the flowers, notice the hedges, whatever it is that's in nature that can help you sort of calm down, right? So I hope you're starting to feel a little bit relaxed, and I hope these are actionable. You feel like you can do some of these when you go home, and they're budget friendly and cost effective, but very good at helping you address feelings of anxiety or depression, those mild feelings of anxiety. Fourth one, silence is golden. Right now, this one might be an eye roller because people don't know where am I going to get a silent moment, especially if you're cooped up in with your family. What am I going to do? Right. So I always like to say necessity is the mother of invention. If you think it, if you want it, if you desire the silence will come. So the question is, how do you get it? So first part is being realistic about how much time you can get to silence. If maybe if you do yoga, you're used to 30-minute sessions of silence, that works. But if not, if there's a lot of foot traffic in your house, try for 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes of silence, and you have to be deliberate then about what times of day maybe you implement that. For instance, I recommend dusk and dawn because the day is transitioning, and I'm talking about lights off, just in a quiet room, 5 minutes. It could be even the bathroom. Sometimes the bathroom is the only place you can hide, right? So just go there, dusk and dawn if you can. The nice thing about having a place with windows, especially if your bathroom also has windows, or just an empty bedroom with windows, is you can kind of feel like you're transitioning with your day. And if you're concerned about missing any activities, like with your kids or whatever it is, just set a timer on your phone and let the phone carry the burden of the minutes you're counting down. So all you can focus on is that moment of silence, right? And then the phone will alert you. It has all the responsibility and it does a good job. Usually alarms do a really good job of timers do a really good job of coming, starting off whenever they need to. So think about it that way. Or an outdoor activity is find your way around nature. Find your way around nature. Nature has a natural calming effect if you find the right environment. So go to like a local park, again, your favorite beach, or just focus on the flowers that are blooming in your backyard, right? So it's basically, and while you're there, just take deliberate deep breaths and slowly exhale. Focus on your breath, control your breath, just those deep inhales, exhales, and focusing on nature. Let all the movement be happening with nature, right? Watch how the wind is blowing through the leaves or how the bees are floating from flower to flower or stuff like that. And I also recommend that sunrises, sunsets are also fantastic for nature. If you can stand outside, just watch the sunrise or watch it set, and seeing those beautiful colors in the sky can be remarkably helpful. And again, it's free. The sun sets, rises and sets everywhere. But if it's an overcast day, You know, again, that might be an opportunity for you to play around with light. So just knowing that there's a scented candle in your space and still taking those deliberate in breaths and out breaths. So if there's no sunlight outside for you, you can make it, right? With your candles or with the fire or whatever it is you decide to use. And then gardening could be an activity that you do. It's a great solitary activity that gets you focused in on something else other than the problems you're dealing with right away. Right, so caring for something else, caring for another living thing. So you can, go to your local nursery and practice that green thumb. Right, see what you're good at. And who knows, maybe by the end of the summer, because this is the beginning of the summer, maybe by the end of the summer, you might actually have fresh veggies or a bouquet of flowers you could put in your own house from your labor, right? But the nice thing is this labor you carried out and it was relaxing in the process. Now you're actually harvesting and getting to eat or admire the fruits of your labor. Now, if you live in an apartment complex, it's worth finding out if they have community gardening around your apartment complex. So you may not have something right with you, but they might have community gardening options that you can sign up for and get your own little plot of land so you can do your gardening or your, growing your veggies or whatever it is that you're doing. Or you can buy pots and put you should buy like potted plants, right? Like potted plants and take care of those. Something that can fit on your windowsill, whether inside your kitchen or outside or whatever it is. But you can play around with gardening, for instance, when it comes to that indoor outdoor activity. So it might require that you go visit your local nursery, but that's an option as well. And speaking of gardening, right, now we're reaching our fifth and final coping strategy, and I have to preempt it because it's not everybody's favorite. Exercise. Get moving. Just get moving, right? So you could be, if you're one of those people who like structured workouts, and the gyms are currently closed for you, try using YouTube if you have Wi-Fi. Since we're talking on Zoom, I'm assuming you have Wi-Fi somewhere, right? So try using workout videos, free workout videos on YouTube. They range everywhere from 5-minute workouts to an hour and a half or longer, right? Get what works for you. And for instance, if you don't know about any workout, I don't know where to begin. For instance, Pop Sugar Fitness is a YouTube channel that has hundreds, thousands, I think, of workouts you could try with or without equipment. Right? So you could try them with or without equipment. Some of them are fun. It's dancing. So you can actually do it with your kids. So you're all exercising, but it feels like a fun activity, right? You can go exercise with your kids. Or you can use equipment if you already have equipment in your houses. Now, I've been hearing from people that the dumbbells are gone. Say if you go to Dick's Sporting Goods or other places, stuff is just gone, right? But you can improvise as well. Like some people have talked about how they use frozen bottles of water as weights or cans of soup. Whatever it is you use, make sure you use it safely. Now, if you're not sure you can use it safely, I recommend not starting with equipment, but make sure you're dressed appropriately for the workout that you're trying to do, right? So to make sure you're as safe as possible with or without equipment. Or you can make a playlist of music and just dance to it. Just have a certain time of day you decide, not for this coming hour. We have a playlist that plays an hour through in our house, and we just dance to it randomly. Just everybody keeps moving. It's just up and about. You just know that at this point in time when this music is playing, nobody's sitting down. We're all about busy doing something. Now you'll find that it becomes difficult then to work out, well, how do I stay busy for an hour? But now you're talking about chores. Now your kids can help you with chores, right? Or you can get some chores done because you're on your feet, right? So you can actually, make a game of it. Like, hey, I'm going to count to 10. And then when I get to 10, you have to freeze. Let's see how quickly you can clean the space. I'll count to 10 and you get to 10, freeze. No matter how awkward the position is, so you can see where everybody is. And you'll be amazed at how quickly rooms get cleaned that way. But then that could be a nice mix again of music and actual practical indoor activities, like make sure your space is clean. Because sometimes just having your space, because your physical space tends to be a representation of where your mental state is as well. So if you're wondering how you're really feeling about something, pay attention to your physical environment, because it might also tell you something about how well you're doing or not doing, right? And then you can make adjustments accordingly. Now, your outdoor activities, is if you're not used to going outside, I don't want to assume people are already natural joggers, they run everywhere. But if you're not used to going outside or just don't go outside ever or haven't been outside really since lockdown except to get groceries or fuel the car, then start by making a plan. You know, use Google Maps. Google Maps walk features to explore your neighborhood and see where you'd like to go. I recommend maybe about a 1 mile walk. Again, refer to your GP and your physical condition. But I would recommend a 1 mile walk and just go about exploring your neighborhood. Go down streets you've never gone down before. This is why I'm recommending you plan it ahead with Google Maps so you know how to find your way back home again, right? So plan a 1 mile walk. And what research has shown in some ways is if you can make it a mile, you can actually start running at a point. You can actually start training yourself how to run. So maybe your initial goal will be seeing if you can walk a mile. So it could be half a mile to and half a mile from. And for those of you into track and field, you know about a mile is about 4 laps around the track. So to kind of give you an idea of what that might look like, half a mile is about 2 laps around the track, a mile is about 4 laps around the track, right? Or you can go just immediately for a run or develop, you know, get ready for a 5K post-COVID. You know, like I know I'm preparing for a 5K post-COVID. I'd like to try a 5K post-COVID, right? So have something you're looking forward to that's in the future that will get your focus off of the discomfort that exercise might give you in that moment towards a much more enjoyable goal. But again, don't exercise beyond your level of comfort. Sometimes it's just worth it to start with a nice, easy stroll and just being conscientious of your walk, of your surroundings as you're taking a walk. And then you can start to increase the pace over time until you have a nice steady jog or you're running around your neighborhood. And maybe you'll start to see some familiar faces in your neighborhood as well, and maybe develop some new friendships or relationships that way. Or you can work out outdoors if your favorite indoor workouts are flexible enough, like yoga, right? No pun intended, yoga is flexible, or Tai Chi or other cardio workouts that just get your heart and lungs going. So get that blood flowing. Or jumping rope. Because sometimes jumping rope may be, you know, if you're used to it in the gym, it feels like a task, but you could play jump rope with your kids and sing songs you used to sing as a kid, or play hopscotch, or whatever it is that you do, or just draw with crayons on the sidewalk, whatever it is, as long as it gets you moving, get moving, right? So teaching your kids things you used to do when you were younger, that could also be a great bonding exercise in and of itself. All right, so those are the 5 that I recommend. And again, you can mix and match these options to best fit your needs, best suit your needs. Get creative with your ideas, right? So because whether you think you can or cannot do them, you're right, right? So it's about modification and making sure that these interventions line up with your lifestyle. Take from it what you may, take from it what you can, and leave what you can't. But you have to start from that framework. Like again, I say coping strategies, it means a deliberate, conscious effort to adjust your environment, right? To tackle your stresses. So conscientiously thinking, I can do this, you'll find that the creativity starts kicking in on how you'll be able to do it and for how long. Right, so we're gonna go into Q&A.